Hello lovers, today we're doing it a little bit differently because it's too nice to sit in my little studio. And also I have a speech coming up for you that I gave in a conference, a dating coaching conference a couple months ago. The audio is not the best. I did everything that I could to make it as pleasant to listen to as possible, but you'll have to deal with it for at least this very video. I still think the talk is very interesting and very informative, so that's why I'm giving it to you. My name is Sanne, I'm an erotic body worker and I'm your intimacy coach. I want all men to have the best sex life that they can have, and that is partly what the speech is also about. So have a good watch, enjoy a listen. It's a little bit of a tough listen, but it's gonna be great regardless. See you on the opposite side of the talk.
So let's have Sana come up. Sana, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself, and you do some very interesting work. And I'd like to hear about it. I learned a bit last year what you do, but I want to hear you kind of update us and give the guys your own take from it.
All right, and also I give myself some space. All right, so I did not expect to be out here today. So feel free to jump in there whenever the question pops up. I'm probably going to talk about intimacy, sex. To give a little bit of my story, I've been involved in the seduction world for, I would say, close to 12 years now. I got into it through the Natural Lifestyles, James Marshall, if anyone is aware of that group, and then eventually found the art of erotic, realized that I was probably, with your talk yesterday, that I was probably already an erotic to begin with. So I was like, okay, the whole philosophy that they have going on really resonates with me. And as I was going through my seduction journey, I was also really figuring out myself. Obviously, that's what we're all doing here. Like, okay, how am I showing up in the world? What does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to relate to women? And as I was going through my journey and the struggles that I was encountering in myself in relation to women, I wanted to go deeper and deeper and deeper and like, what is the core of all this? Like, what is the actual core of how women and men relate, what we need from each other, what we desire from one another. And that led me to the concept of polarity. I don't know, you're probably all aware of it as a term, masculine energy, feminine energy. We will get into that a little bit more, but where it also took me was into the world of bodywork. Massage, first it was massage, then it was being sexual shamanism, the world of tantra, the world of BDSM, and basically how we can use ourselves, our own body, and the body of somebody else to create altered states of being. Maybe some of you have already done psychedelics in various forms, and that is one avenue to get to those altered states of being. I was fortunate enough to do a sexual shamanism retreat where I encountered a similar state for the very first time using just my body, using sexual energy. And that blew my mind so much that like, I need to know everything about this. And that has been my quest for the last 6 years now, I guess. Yeah. Which eventually, to tell you what I do nowadays, I help men and couples solve their intimacy problems. And I work with women as intimate massage therapist, sexual healer, tantric masseur, whatever you want to call it. So women come to me who are in some way closed off from their body, from their femininity, through various reasons, Maybe they've just not been with a partner that cares for them for a very long time. Maybe they took care from sick parents for a very long time. Maybe they were abused or sexually assaulted in some way, and they lost confidence in themselves or with being around men. So women come to me, I give them an experience. And I guess today I want to talk a little bit about the types of experiences that I'm trying to give women. Because in my opinion, and I'm sure some of you have been in this situation before, women tend to be quite dissatisfied on erotic and sexual level. And I'm gonna say that not to put like blame on the men for not knowing what to do, because the fact of the matter is nobody is being taught what a good sex life is about. I would say even quite the opposite. Most people are shamed and instilled with ideas that are actively making a sex life an intimate life. Like more repressed, more limited. So, again, if at any point you want me to clarify things, if you want me to slow down, if you have an idea in mind, feel free to throw it out there. One of the things that people think when I talk about what I do is that it is very spectacular. I have these hidden techniques, these mystical techniques that I know, this acupressure point on the third vertebrae, that when you press it, suddenly like your third chakra opens and then everything starts flowing. And that's not really what it's about. In that sense, I want to piggyback on the talk of Brian yesterday. I feel like everything that I do that is creating a situation for women to fully feel themselves, to fully allow themselves to express themselves, and to fully surrender in that feminine spirit is all about the embodiment part. It's all about the presence part. So really, the way that I like to see it, or I'm going to explain today, you as the masculine are the riverbank of her feminine flow. If your riverbank is not very strong, she will just flow over it. It will be chaos. It will just wash away everything that you have. And I'm sure some of you have been in relationships that were so dramatic and so turbulent that after it ended, you just didn't even know who you were anymore. I was definitely one of those. A deep breath means this man also knows.
I'll ask questions later.
Yeah, that's good. And at the same time, there's also those men who say like control freaks, like the riverbanks do not become, they become walls. And they form a channel and the woman has to flow through it. But then the woman only has one direction and she cannot really express herself freely because water needs to flow, needs to meander. So we as men also have to be able to contain them, but also allow themselves the freedom to just take us in a certain direction. And the reason I say that is because that's very much what I try to do in my sessions. I create a solid frame, a riverbank, and then I allow them to express themselves in whatever way they want. And I clear myself as much as I can to be as intuitive and sensitive feeling as I can towards what is going on there. And we experienced it a little bit with Brian yesterday, is the fact that to be able to do that, you need to be very sensitive to your own experience. Sanne talked about that we're all very technological. I don't know exactly how we phrase this, but we're becoming more and more technological. What my job is about, what women need, is us to become more and more wild. So it's about rewilding ourselves, which is a part of just being more sensitive to ourselves. So just as like a small little practice, everyone close their eyes, sit upright. This is not going to be like a full-on mindfulness meditation practice, but I just want you to imagine that you're looking inwards. So put those eyes not out into the world, but inside of yourself. And just become aware of any sensation that is drawing your attention. You're not looking for a sensation. You're just letting it grab your attention. And that might be a twitch in the finger. That might be a pain in the stomach. The neck is a little bit sore. Wherever it may be, is just to be aware of like what signals are alive and present in my body right now. Because all of these signals, they are there, they're trying to bring awareness to something. But at the same time, those are only the signals that you allow yourself to feel. If we would do this longer, I would suggest you verbalize those signals. I would let you see how fleeting those signals are. And how under the surface of like the most present ones, there are more and more signals. And there's an infinite amount of depth how you can experience yourself. The problem with most men, from my experience, is that we have the most surface level experience of ourselves. And because that is the case, we do not have the capacity to feel women as much as we want to feel them and as they want us to feel them. And that is a deep problem when it comes to intimacy in general. And it's also a big limiting factor in your sex life. I'm just going to put it like that. Because the less that you feel, the less pleasure you actively can have inside of your body. And the more that you're aware of what's happening inside of yourself, the more you can also start playing around with everything that's happening in there. And the more that you can start using what is in there to actually create effects on it. Feel free to open your eyes again. As Ryan so beautifully put it yesterday, the more present you are with her, the more space you have inside of yourself because you're not overthinking, because you're not anxious, because all of those classic things that take you away from feeling yourself. The less space you have for her to enter you. And like Brian so beautifully said yesterday, we are always the one that wants to enter the room, but the most powerful way you can interact with a woman is that you give her the space to enter you. A very practical thing you can do when you go out to date and approach a woman. Don't say anything until you've taken a deep breath and you really and you really take her in. You breathe her inside yourself. So you're inviting her in, and then, like Brian said yesterday, if she's open to it, she will respond to it. If she's not open to it, so go on from there and see what happens. The breathing her in part. And this is something that I do with all my female clients. The first thing I always do is I want to sync up our breath. And I do this in my seductions as well. I want to sync up our breath. She's not aware that I'm doing that. I am very much aware of doing it, because I want to be in a state where we are both vibrating together. And as soon as we are vibrating together, I can take her in whatever direction that I want. And then it also comes back to what Brian was talking about yesterday. How capable are you as men to bring yourself in different states of being? And what I mean by that is, how much control do you have over your emotional experience? If I ask you now to bring up the most anger inside of yourself that you can, are you able to do that? If I ask you to bring up intense levels of sadness, can you do that? An honest man is shaking his head, no. And the reason why this is important from my perspective is women's intimate experience is only limited by a man's capacity to feel themselves. Women's capacity to feel is infinitely bigger than we allow ourselves to feel. But it's also infinitely more big than they have experienced before, because they are limited by the men that they are with. And so every single time that a woman comes to me, they say, can you teach my guys this? Because men are not aware of this. Men are just like focused on the physical stuff. The physical stuff is fine. It's like that's what we want. We want to feel pleasure. But we also need to engage the emotional part, the mental part, ideally as well, maybe even the spiritual, or that's where it leads.
Can you repeat that phrase that you just said? Women's capacity to feel is, that's what I wrote down, is constrained by man's capacity to be present with it. But you had a more beautiful phrase, but you went quickly over it. I think this is fundamental of your story now.
I do not know the exact phrasing that I used.
You said women's intimate experience is only limited by a man's capacity to feel that.
To feel themselves.
To feel themselves.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry to break your flow.
No, that's beautiful. I mean, look, it is the thesis, I guess, of what I'm bringing forth today. So, the reason why this is so important is, in the essence of what a woman is, from my perspective, she wants to feel. She just wants to feel. She wants to feel herself, she wants to feel the world, she wants to feel you. She needs to feel. And if you're standing in front of her with the mind, there's nothing for her to feel. And most men's capacity to feel is completely stunted, limited. So there's only so much she can take from it. But if you allow yourself to go deeper in yourself, to widen your own emotional experience, you can then say, like, okay, I'm going to take you right now through my anger. And the breathing will change, the intensity will change, everything about me will change. And if she is aware, which she's likely to be, that will impact her. And it's not just the anger thing. I can flip it immediately to something else. And this takes practice. I'm not saying that this is like easy to do. It's a process to familiarize yourself with these feelings and to bring it up without needing to think about like your ex who broke your heart or like whatever. It's just that you're creating such an awareness of your own physical experience that you can just cultivate it whenever you want. And because you can cultivate it whatever you want, I can say like, okay, I'm going to take her through a journey inside of her own emotions. by going into these emotions myself. I will go to anger. And then I will go to the most loving tenderness. And I will go into more trance-like meditative flow. And I will go a little bit playful. And I will go back to anger. And I'm just gonna flow through these different kinds of experiences. And all while you're doing that, you can still do anything you want, right? You can still use your sex toys. You can still say the things that you want to say. These are just this is the flavoring of everything. Your techniques that you've learned, your rope skills, whatever, everything still is viable. But now you can put like gravy on top, like so much gravy on top, that even though you're using those ropes and you've used those ropes before, her entire experience is complete. Because you're taking her on a different sequence of experience. And obviously, again, it takes time to get to this point. It needs a lot of self-awareness. You need to empty yourself from a lot of the bullshit that you carry inside yourself, a lot of the sexual shame, a lot of the things that are stopping you from just doing whatever the fuck you want to do in the bedroom, which is a whole hurdle in and of itself. But once you can do this, and I would say like any of you can do this already. It's just that you're not really thinking about it, and you might do it naturally. I'm not going to claim nobody is doing any of this. You might do it naturally, but as soon as you bring awareness to it, as soon as you are capable of using it, it becomes a tool. And as soon as it's one of your tools in your toolkit, well then the options become infinite. And for a lot of relationships, sadly enough, the intimacy part, the sex part, it starts to fade out after a while. A lot of that is because women are dissatisfied with how men are approaching sex in a very narrow, limited penetration, orgasm kind of way. And that can, I'm not saying that that is not part of it, obviously that's part of it, but we want to be able to expand that range and actually create the type of experiences that women want. And most women don't even know they want this, again, because they're limited by the experiences that they've had. But they are aware that it's not fulfilling. And that is the worst place you can be. You're unfulfilled, but you don't even realize why and how to change it. And now you guys at least have an awareness of this is probably an avenue for you guys to look into. To create this sensory journeys, these emotional, these erotic journeys for women by tapping into what you have inside of yourself. And I'm not only saying this because it's what women want. I deeply believe that once you start doing that as a man yourself, you'll start realizing how incredibly limited your own experience of your own pleasure has been so far. As a little bit of like a controversial statement, I think most men have sex like they're teenagers. They see what they see in porn. They don't know what's practicing them because they grew up without porn. Might have been a better way to do it, who knows? They just think that that is what it needs to be. And that's their only experience from something. So they do not know the depth of their own pleasure. And the whole beautiful thing, as foreign as this might sound to some of you right now, the beauty of sexual intimacy for in my world, it's part of liberating who you are as a human being. It's the one place in life where, if you create it that way, you can let go of every societal burden that was placed on you. It's the one place in life where you can learn to fully express yourself and be wild, be playful, be a little bit aggressive. Everything is welcome in a sexual space, as long as it's consensual, obviously. So it is really the place of liberation, liberating yourself. And giving the gift of her allowing to do the same. And this is also one of the beautiful things about engaging with intimacy and sex in a different way. You're not only doing this for yourself or for her. It's the combined experience. The more that I allow myself to feel the things that I want to feel the things that I can feel, the more I'm also inviting her to do the same. And Brian mentioned it yesterday, we have a lot of suppressed anger and aggression inside of ourselves as men, usually, especially the nice guys, especially the pleasers. I know it very well. But if you don't have access to that yourself, you're also limiting the woman from experiencing her own anger and her own dark side and her own wildness and her own playfulness and her own inner girl that just like wants to play around. And like if you don't have access to these types of energies within yourself, you're just limiting both your experiences. Anthony has just given me the sign. So I obviously I can rant about this for quite a long time. There's definitely a lot more that I can talk about. Was maybe to begin with, did I get something across to you at least of like, okay, how are you experiencing your intimate life and how could you maybe start experiencing it in a slightly different way? So you're not only creating like a physical pleasure, but like an entire journey. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Before we move on, do I have time for a couple of questions?
Sure. Yeah.
Does anyone something in mind?
Oh, so then.
Mine is, are you going? Yeah. It's, you mentioned something there, well, several things, but when you say expanding the range of sexual experiences, right? And that what a woman experiences is limited by the experiences that both they have and also what we see or what we understand.
Yeah.
How do you actually open the gate? What I mean by that, you mentioned, imagine you are with a woman and you come and face her with your brain, as a guy does, but the language that she connects with is emotional.
Yeah.
So a guy that meets a woman with a brain, how does that switch happen to open the gate to start having an emotional conversation?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, the way that you phrase it right now, it starts with you realizing that you're here and then doing whatever you need to do to get yourself here or here, wherever you need to be. But, and just from like a practical perspective, like how do you do that? Like the first step in anything is always bring awareness to it. And where am I like super in my head right now? Do I feel like and the easiest way to find that out is always like how am I breathing? Like anything that has to do with embodiment, anything that has to do with creating these energetic states to invite people into, always comes down to how am I breathing? And actively starting to breathe here. Most men are too afraid to activate this part themselves when they're standing in front of a woman. But if you're not activating this part, she also has nothing to respond to from this part of herself. So we can do breathing techniques, we can do meditation techniques. It really is about like, okay, am I in my head right now? Visualize a place in your belly, in your gut, in your genitals. Breathe into it. And do not stop doing that until you feel that you're at least less in your head.
Okay. So,
and the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Okay. So thank you for that. I just also wanted to pick from that one thing you said, which was where you need to be to start off, like to open the gate. And I thought one of the places that it would be necessary is the heart, right? So creating emotional safety. But the way that you have described it, more from an energetic perspective, where the opening of the gate actually starts from the man internally, and then inviting the woman in. So emotional safety is not with words, but also reflected with energy and openness and I guess vulnerability as well, emotional vulnerability. That's what I'm getting from what you're saying. But that's just me. I'm just trying to.
Yeah. The only thing that you said that I would maybe disagree with is that it starts in the mind. It starts where
In the man. I meant it starts in the man. Well, the man, meaning the guy inside of the guy.
Yeah. Inside of yourself. Yeah. And again, this is beneficial on so many levels because when you slow down, you need more space, you allow her to take up some of that space. And if you don't do that, if you're just kind of like yesterday, throwing yourself off, then there's no place for her to move. And the women in general are so used to being controlled, or being limited in how they can express themselves, that as soon as you show up with that energy, it's like, oh, I know this from my father, I know this from my uncle, I know this from teachers, I know this from the entire world, basically telling me, you're too much. And when I invade,
Yeah, so first, this is a beautiful speech. I'd like to connect with you after the conference, after the speech. I heard you talk about my vision. So I'd like to connect with your work. A very practical question I have on is about in lovemaking. I find many women actually themselves, when they're in their turn on, to sort of want to go into penetration. Want to feel fit, literally. And to take them in the slowdown, I need to first slow down myself. I need to put my own turn on first. So I'm just looking for like practical tips from you. Like once at a point, like, okay, we can just go into penetration nowadays, and it's done in well, however it's going to take. If you want to take them along in a slowdown, how would you do that?
Yeah. This I love this question for many reasons. First of all, this comes down to, in my mind, also with how much tension can I live inside of myself. The more tension you can allow in yourself, the more tension there can also be between you two. And the more tension there is between you two, the more anticipation builds, and the bigger the release becomes when you actually give into it. And most men's capacity for tension is very small. That's why we come too fast. That's why we eject ourselves out of a conversation too fast. It's because we have a very small capacity for tension. And this is another example of like if a woman wants you to enter her, do you have the balls to say like, "Oh, enter you"?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. And I have a general rule: I don't enter a woman unless she really fast. And I'm not going to say like I'm 100% all the time taboo. But it creates a dynamic of like, okay, we are going to play around with this, and it will become a more intenser experience because of it. And one of the parts, in my mind, of being a very good lover is also being able to lean back, step back, and not wait. Most men are always in, you need to do stuff, you need to rub that clitoris like a mad, we just make, like, pull her hair, do all the things at the same time. Like, that's all great. I definitely recommend also that you are able to do that. But just being able to say, like, okay, she's sitting there, she's naked, legs open, she's willing, she wants you to invite, and then just looking at her, like savoring what you're seeing. This allows her to start like simmering in her own pleasure. Like really simmering, because otherwise, if you just give into it immediately, you just have tasted like it's, you feel the first of the palate, but not like the undernotes. Like if you're tasting a glass of wine, I'm not a wine person, but I'm just going to use this analogy. You can just sip it and you have the flavor, and the flavor is what it is. But the more you take time to actually taste it, the more like, okay, there's like hints of like some sort of berry in here, and there's like a hint of vanilla, and it's the same thing with building this anticipation. Like if you take your time to let her experience herself, she will start to be aware, and it will usually create a situation where she starts begging for it more and more. It's also a great space to be in, right? Where a woman is like, just give it to me already, like, damn it, like, because every man she's ever been with just does it anyway. And it's boring. It's boring. So, play around with that.
Can we connect after?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I don't want to take the space for all group. There's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Sanj, I think what do you think? How do you think your exposure to Zan and Ars Liberata contributed to your finding this conclusion?
It's interesting because before I came into it, I was already thinking a lot about what beauty means in my life. And I think the most powerful quote that there's a couple of things that I've learned from Zen that have been very influential. The whole, a man who loves women is loved by women. The older that I get, the more that I realize the depth of that sentence. Because in my 20s, I would also have said like, yeah, sure, I love women. But let's be honest, I like a type of women. I liked what women could give me. I liked how women made me feel. I liked, the one-way street. And with my own journey and with the work that I do now, I get to experience the feminine in ways that most men never get to experience her. And I'm constantly in awe about everything that happens when you can just let the feminine be the feminine. And so many women have never experienced that power that they have inside of themselves. It's like this primeval woman inside themselves. And if you are a man that can allow herself to bring that out and give her that space, she will remember you for the rest of your life. And another thing that I resonated a lot with, and I also now teach in various ways, is the element of you also need to nurture your boy. Also in the bedroom. Because there's like a cross happening. If you're a mature man, what we really like is this bubbly, like playful young girl. That's what actually excites us. If we're honest about it as men, what gets her dick hard is the bubbly young girl energy that she has. So it's the mature man engaging with, don't take it as the wrong way, but like the inner girl side of her. And that is very exciting. But the opposite side is also true. If you have the inner playful boy, then she can engage with her mature, motherly, loving side. And it creates this dynamic. And again, if you play around with it, if you are able of going into that mature side, also going into that younger side, that enthusiastic side, that creative side, that playful side, that wants to go and all these kind of things, you're just tapping into more of her range, her inner girl, her sage-like woman, whatever you want to call it. And it's in all directions. It's about how can I expand whatever we have going on here. And most men are just, this is what I know. I'm just gonna do foreplay for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. First, I'm gonna do this dress her this way. I go down on her this way, because that's what worked for me once. So I'm just gonna do that, and I penetrate her, and then I'm gonna do this sequence of positions. Maybe slap her ass like 2 times, and then after 5 minutes, I cannot deal with the tension anymore, and I just release, turn around, and I hope she had a great time. It's very disappointing for everyone involved. It's just very disappointing. Not that I don't want to claim that can also not be a fun experience for everyone. If that's the only thing that you have in your toolbox, it's very disappointing. Very disappointing.
Thank you, Sanne. That was one of the best unprepared teachers I've ever heard. So,
Hey!
After that,
right, yeah, sure.
We just spoke about the little boy and allowing our expression of the little boy.
Yeah.
So there's a light and a dark. Like the little boy can have temper tantrums and things like that as well, right? So do you encourage like men to go into that temper tantrums with the woman in the kind of holding space role or not?
Do you mean it as like having an actual temper tantrum or as like a playful thing?
I guess like having an actual temper tantrum.
No, that I don't feel like that is the right moment to go through that.
I think it's an important distinction
Yeah.
as well. That allowing a little boy,
Yeah.
you know, I'm all on board with checking in with what my little boy is saying, but I
Yeah.
would never let it drive the car.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah. But yeah, and obviously there's a lot of nuances to be said about that specific thing, because yeah, you can approach a woman with just the little boy that needs motherly attention, and so many men also end up in these like mother-son relationship dynamics, where they just need emotional safety from the woman that they're with, because they don't find emotional safety within themselves for whatever reason. And that is just like a deal killer for sexual intimacy. Like no mother wants to sleep with her child. No healthy individual wants to sleep with their child. So that's not what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's more like this playful energy, this creative energy, this enthusiastic energy, and the part of you that just wants to cuddle and play with her arms and like whatever it may be, is this childlike curiosity and inventiveness and imagination that then creates, again, novel experiences.
Can you ask Sanne at the break? So let's take a break for half an hour and come back and we'll hear from Adam next. So, say 2:45 sharp. Let's go.
All right.
Thanks, Sanne. You guys.
All right, here I am again in this beautiful environment. Look at how beautiful it is. Such a beautiful day. If you want to know more about what I do, if you are interested in the content that I put out, stick around, subscribe, hit the bell icon, leave a comment down below, do the things that you are expected to do. Let's do some reciprocity here. If you are interested in my work, you can look in the description. You will find a link to my school, and you will also find a link to the F.I.R.E Diagnostic, which is a test that I created. It's completely free, it takes about 10 minutes that you can take to see where your intimate life is right now and where it might need a little bit of assistance. In any case, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. There's a beautiful lady sitting somewhere over there, so I'm gonna say hello to her. So wish me luck.